Star Wars Rebels Episode 10, Vision of Hope. This was a pretty interesting episode. I really enjoyed the fact that the beginning of it started off, we got to see Ezra doing the training, kind of like Luke, deflecting the lightsabers or deflecting the blasts. And in this case, it was a little different. That's what I initially thought the training was to use the Force to sense when danger was coming. And we've seen him do that in several other episodes. But in this, it was mostly to really practice the more physical side of being a Jedi, and that was the art of kind of deflecting blasts from blasters. And I never thought about that, like, ever in all the years I've been loving Star Wars, whether it was the movies or a bunch of the games or like the Clone Wars or any of the other TV shows. I never once thought they train not only to sense when they're about to get hit with a blaster, but to actually learn how to deflect, like the physical aspect of it, not just to sense it like, oh, I blocked. Because you can just hit anything and everything and you can hurt the people that are on your side. And I thought that was really cool. It was an interesting little training section. And then, of course, that led to the vision, which was very cool because that's a really powerful thing for a Jedi to see. So it was cool to see Ezra have this really big, I don't want to say boost because it was kind of just a random thing. Like, he's done other random things, like when he got really, really angry and he was able to control that really big monster in the one episode, which was really epic. But it was cool to see him get that little vision, and this episode was once again a lesson for him to learn as a Jedi, because even with him getting this vision and trusting his instincts, having these abilities doesn't instantly mean, you do have to trust them. It means that you kind of have to learn what to trust and what to question, because you see things out of context. It doesn't just mean this happens or that this is right. You heard bits and pieces that sound good. That doesn't make it good, and vice versa, which may or may not come up in a different episode, where if he had a vision and everything was bad, he'd probably take the lesson like, well, I'm seeing bad things, but I'm not seeing the good things, so I have to make sure I make everything as good as possible in between, or try to fight the vision, which I think we'll get to see later on in the series. They might not do it a second time in this season, but it would be really cool if he got another vision where everything was kind of the reverse, where in this one it was like, yeah, we're going to get to meet the senator and everything's going to be great. If it was the complete opposite and he tried to basically fight the vision, it was kind of like, an episode where it's like fighting against the futures, that type of thing. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, and him really jumping into being a Jedi and really trusting the Force. I thought that was kind of cool, and that was kind of the thing. You had to learn the lesson that although you should trust your instincts as a Jedi, Ezra has learned over time, as well as many other Jedi, you kind of just have to be careful. You can't instantaneously just say, I saw this, it's definitely right because it's the Force. You aren't, like a master of the Force. You don't get to see every single, aspect of what's going to happen in the future. So you can't just trust the instincts, wholeheartedly. You're not getting the full story. So I really enjoyed that. This senator, who we've seen several times in the series, at least the transmissions, it was interesting that he ended up being a bad guy. And when he got the gun, I was a little worried. Like, I figured at that point, like, I don't know why, whenever someone, one of the main characters, whether it's this show or like any other show, I always think the main character has given up the one weapon they have to this new character who has been mentioned several times, or especially if it's the first time they've ever been mentioned. I definitely think it in those cases, but whenever that happens, I'm instantly just like, this is a bad guy. It's a villain. Like that always happens, and unfortunately, that is what happened in this episode, because I was hoping that them meeting with this guy for the first time would actually kind of boost things for them. It would allow them, kind of like he said, how he was mentioning, like, you guys must have, a huge support network and know a lot of different people. That's kind of what I was hoping they would get from meeting this guy for the first time, and I was pretty excited for that, to see just where things would go, like what's going to happen with the Rebels if they end up kind of joining this big network of, kind of the Rebel Alliance, or, really early Rebel Alliance. So it sucked that didn't happen and this guy just turned out to be like a douchebag villain, but I was excited for that, and it sucks that it didn't, but it was still a good episode. I still really enjoyed it. We also got to see the one guy who's now been promoted, who's in the I guess Empire Cadet Academy thing. So it was cool to see him as well, and he's getting sent off to one of the training academies on a different planet. So we won't see him for a long time, even though apparently he's been on the planet the whole time. We didn't know that. I thought he was like off wherever else they were in that first episode. So it was kind of interesting that they even took the time to mention, like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to be leaving the planet and I can't help you like I have been. And we never really saw him do that at all until the episode where, of course, he's leaving to go to another planet like the very next day. So I thought that was interesting that they took the time to tell us that. And it could mean that they are planning on going to that planet or whatever, or some crazy mission's going to go awry and Ezra's going to say like, hey, we're close to this planet, and that's what this guy told me. So that's probably why they did it that way, even though we hadn't seen him helping them at all or giving Ezra any information, even if it was insignificant, just to show, hey, he's on the exact same planet that they stay at. Like, they don't go from planet to planet, they stay on the same planet when they're kind of in between missions. So it was just kind of a weird scene for me, like, oh, he's been here the whole time and we never saw him until he's gonna leave the very next day. But I'm still excited to see what they do with his character, because I do remember that the only reason he joined the academy was to find his sister, who basically rose really high in the ranks and then just vanished, and he has no idea what happened. And I'm pretty sure something went down with her being really powerful in the Force and joining the Inquisitor, or at least being taken by the Inquisitor, and then maybe being trained by someone else that we haven't seen on the dark side. It's always the master and an apprentice, so it's probably not whoever the Inquisitor's master is, which may or may not be the Emperor. He seems like the only person that kind of breaks that rule, but who knows? Like, we'll have to wait for that in the future. But I was glad to see him, and they didn't forget his character. So I'm excited to see how they do that with his character. And then we also got to see Callus in this episode, and him being sort of our secondary villain until we see whoever the Inquisitor's master is. For now, Callus is like the secondary villain, and then he'll probably end up being the third if they ever do bring in the master. But it was cool to see him in this episode, and he has his different fighting tactics compared to the Inquisitor. He set up the trap, and it's like, the Inquisitor, he feels, is too focused on Ezra and Kanan. Like, he's focused on these Jedi. We need to just focus on the team, because they're always a team. We just get the rebels, and then boom, we have his Jedi. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It really is just smart, because there's no point in trying to make this extra big plan to split the team into the two Jedi characters and then capture them and have, like, an extra giant step to the plan. Well, you could just make one big plan and just boom, boom, you have a big net and catch everybody at once. So I enjoyed getting to see him in there. We didn't see too much of him, really. Like, he had his talking moments, and then that was really it. He didn't have much to it. He wasn't really even in the episode that much. Like, even when he was in the action scene, it was kind of like they threw the smoke bombs down, shot a couple people. They didn't really do the thing between Callus and Zeb where they kind of at least hinted towards their rivalry again, because they were kind of in the heat of the moment. And I'm fine with that. I really want to see that happen again, because the first time we got it was episode 2. And that was great, because it was like, Zeb is like the new species to the Star Wars universe and stuff. And Callus is like his rival, so I can't wait till they bring that back, because that's one of the biggest things I've seen in the series so far. But it was cool to have him in there, because really it is mostly just the rebels doing random missions. Sometimes you get Callus, sometimes you get the Inquisitor. We get Callus more than the Inquisitor, unfortunately, because, guy with the lightsaber is always sweeter. But it's cool to see him and see his different tactics and how he operates as, well, he's not a stormtrooper, he's like a general and stuff, but like a more typical army-based character compared to the Inquisitor, who has the same tactics and training and stuff like that, but he has that much larger extra step as the Sith, a Sith Lord, I guess. So, I can't wait to see that happen, and of course see him come back, because the Inquisitor is going to be in the next episode, so always excited for that, and him and Kanan fighting yet again, always the best stuff ever. But enjoyed this episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what did you guys think about Ezra kind of taking yet another extra step. He gained a vision. He had a vision. He wasn't really in control in any way, shape, or form of said vision, but he did have one. And we also, that was during the training. So, what do you guys think about just the whole training section and him following his vision pretty much 100%? Kind of learning that lesson as this new ability in the Force was sort of revealed to him. It sort of just came to him automatically. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I always love seeing him get a new ability. Like, no matter what it is, it's always very cool. Like, seeing him when he was in the training episode was really sweet. Seeing him get the lightsaber at the end of that episode was, of course, very cool. And then seeing him use the lightsaber and all the other stuff, like training in this episode when he was using it. And the couple of times where he was, like, side by side with Kanan, I thought that was really great. Like, when they were going into the sewers after they got ambushed, I loved that scene. It was just like, everyone's like, alright, we gotta jump in the grate, or, jump in this giant hole to get into the sewers. And here come all these stormtroopers, and Ezra and Kanan both turn around. You didn't hear any delay or anything. Like, they used one sound effect for both of them turning on their lightsabers. And it just really stood out to me because it was like they were in perfect sync. And it was just like, boom. They were ready, and I thought that was just a really cool thing to see. Like, Ezra is really, training, and he's really getting to that higher level. So I loved it, of course. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.